Well, we just got a crazy good deal on this dirt bike. This is a 1999 on a CR125. I paid $500 for it. Really, really good deal. This is the aluminum frame CR125. And the seller said it's been sitting for over 15 years in his pole barn. But right now, the pipe is kind of off of it. Doesn't have the springs on it. The plastics are kind of just hanging here. The seat was off of it. The silencer is not connected to the pipe. So I don't know what he was doing. Yeah, the spark plug's out of it. So he said he was going to do like a light restoration, get this thing running and driving, but just never got around to it. So he decided to sell it to me for $500. He just wanted it gone. He said he was sick of looking at it, and that's how I got it for $500. So today we're going to see what's going on with this bike and hopefully get it running and driving by the end of the video. I noticed that the tire has a huge gouge in it right here. You can see there's a big cut in the tire there. So hopefully that pumps up. But the carb looks like it has all new lines on it. Looks like possibly a new head. New shifter. Looks like new grips on here. So he must have been going through it, you know, adding new parts to it and just never got around to finishing it up, is what I'm thinking. But it looks to be in really, really good shape. Looks like a new silencer on there too. Yeah, not bad. For $500, if we can get this one running and driving, we got a steal. So let's get this one off the trailer, start digging into it. Alright, little walk around of the bike here. Looks to be a new pipe on there too. I don't see any dents in the pipe. Engine cases look really nice. We'll have to check and see if that water pump's corroded. Oh, I don't think there's any fluid in it either. You can see that's drained out. Oil cap is off of it. Yeah, the tire's got a couple big cuts in it. It's all dry rotted. So that's really flat. I think that's losing air. Front tire. Looks like it was studded at one point. You can see the little holes in the tire. See if the clutch pulls in. That's smooth. Does throttle work? Yep. See if there's any gas in it. Nope, no gas in it at all. So it looks like he drained all the fluids. Yeah, no line going to the carb. Chain and sprockets don't look horrible. So we have a pretty good base to work with. Well, we got the bike in the garage. Let's start going through it. So we're kind of going through this thing blind. We don't really know what's going on with it. Let's see if it kicks over here. It feels smooth kicking it over. It doesn't have the plug in it. Let's see. It does have a tag. It does say 1999, so it is in fact a 1999 model, which is good. Let's just see if there's any oil in it first. Maybe that'll give us a clue as to what's going on. Oil check right here. So we can check that. If there's nothing coming out of there, we'll try draining out the oil. I'm guessing there's probably not any oil in it. So this takes 650 milliliters. Let's see if there's anything in here. Yeah, no, it's probably drained out. We're gonna take the drain plug out and see if it's completely dry. I wonder if the whole engine was rebuilt. I see a brand new gasket there on the clutch side. Maybe he had the clutch side off and was doing some work to it. Not sure. The drain bolt is right there. Let's get that out. All right, let's crack that bolt free. couple drops in there. So it wasn't completely dry, so I don't think it was torn apart. Looks pretty black. So most of the oil is drained out of it though. All right, so there's no oil in it. Coolant appears to be drained out as well. It's missing the little bolt here for the drain. So there's obviously no coolant. Let's take a look at the radiator. The cap was loose too. Yeah, there's nothing in there. So this thing needs all new fluids. Let's get the seat off, take a look at that air filter, and then we'll work our way to the spark plug. Off of here. All right, looks like a new air filter. All right, that's all oiled up. That looks good. Looks brand new. Cool. So that checks out. It's all tacky. Let's just look in the gas tank one more time. Make sure all the old gas is out of it. I'll take a flashlight in there. Yeah, you can see it's completely empty in there. So that's nice. When people drain the fluids out of the bike, it makes it a lot easier because then it doesn't get all gunked up. So hopefully that carb is spotless. All right, let's work on getting this gas tank off. Alright, you've got your clutch cable here coming through, your throttle cable. Here's the coil on the side here that appears to be grounded to the frame there. That looks good. You've got your black and yellow wire coming in. Let's see if it's tight on the coil. Yep, that feels good. And then that's connected up to the kill switch up here. That feels like it's pushing down, expanding. You've got your CDI up here. And here's the radiator. And it looks like he's using this sticker. That's kind of cool. I've never seen those before. So it tells you what temperature it is. There's one on the head here. Around the head for any leaking. I'm not seeing anything. Now we're looking around the cylinder just for any signs of a bad head gasket. You know, it's been sitting for 15 years, so it probably dried up, but you'd be able to see like little drip marks from coolant leaking and oil and gas leaking out of his head. So I'm not seeing anything like that. I wonder if we can get this pipe off. Let's get the pipe off and we can kind of look in the back of the cylinder here and see if that piston's still good. All right, pipe coming off. Nothing in the pipe at all. Let's take a peek up here. See if we can see anything up here. Oh, piston doesn't look too bad. You can see the power valves. There's a little indent right there. You can see next to the bridge. I don't know what that is. See that? There's like a little pinhole. Typically these pistons, you want to drill holes in them for that bridge so it gets lubrication there and doesn't expand, because a lot of times it locks up right where that bridge is See how thin that metal is? So maybe they drilled or were drilling a hole there, and then they found out it was a little bit too far to the left here. So they drilled it in the center. I don't know. We'll see. But so far, piston looks okay. So this is pretty interesting. This is the plug that came with the bike. And I asked the seller about it, and he said this was on the bike when he bought it. And he said that either the head was shaved down or it has a high compression piston in there. Because why else would you need a spacer for the spark plug? So I thought that was very interesting. I've never seen a spacer on a spark plug that big before. That's pretty big. Let's see what the size is. Does it have a size? This is PBPR. So I'm not sure. I don't know, if we need that or not. I'm gonna take a look inside the spark plug hole here. Yeah, it must be a high compression piston in there. That's all I can think. And usually those are domed a little bit higher. I don't know. But we're gonna install it the same way he had it. Let's just try twisting this in. I wanna see if it hits the top of the piston. So the spacer, if we would have added the spacer, it would sit like probably like right there. Let's see, turn it over. Yeah, it doesn't hit right there. Let's see if we keep going. Will it hit the piston? Let's see. Nope, it doesn't. The piston does not hit the spark plug. So maybe we don't need the spacer. Very odd. We'll add it, see how it runs with it, and we'll take it out if it runs like crap. All right, let's see if we have spark. Ground this out. Here we go. Kick it over. Oh yeah. Let's just see if it's consistent. Every kick. It's a good sign. All right, so that looks pretty good. We are going to put a little oil down the cylinder. Lube that up before we start kicking this over to do a compression test. Marvel mystery oil and 2-stroke oil. Going in. That should lube everything up. Speed up that process. Just pour some in. All right. Now we'll slowly turn this thing over until it gets smooth. Just want those piston rings and everything to be lubed up before we really kick this thing over. Alright, that should be good. Get everything smooth in there. You can see it coming out of the cylinder there. At least we know the rings and the piston and the cylinder are being lubed up here. All right, let's do a compression test. For 125, you want to see around 160 psi. If it's a high compression piston, it might have more. All right. What do you guys think? I'm guessing we have 140 is my guess. All right, we're gonna let that sit right in this range, right between 150 and 200 is what we're shooting for. And we're gonna be doing throttle open. So here we go. So it might not have a high compression piston. Or about 165. So that's perfect. So that's right where it should be. So that's good. But it probably doesn't have a high compression piston if the compression is right around the stock setting like that. But yeah, that's good. It will definitely start up with 160 psi. Let's take a look underneath the water pump. Let's see if that impeller is still intact here. Try not to rip these gaskets. They're kind of fragile. I think it's gonna rip. Yeah, we might have to load that up. Yeah, she definitely ripped. I'm gonna not take off the other side. Otherwise we're screwed. I don't have another gasket. So let's just see if this impeller is spinning when we kick over the engine. Then we know that the water pump is actually working. Oh yeah, let's see. Just gonna put my finger in there, make sure it doesn't move. Yup. So that's working. You definitely want that working before you start this thing up. So that's good. This is the power valve cover here. Let's take that off. Again, we're just checking to see if the power valves are working before we attempt to fire this thing up. There's a little bolt here too. Crack that free. Just kind of. There we go. I think that came free. Alright, we saved that gasket. Now if we look in there, you can kind of see how the power valves work. So this rod is hooked down below to a governor. And that governor will open and close, raising and lowering this rod here. And when this rod lowers and raises, that little pin just fell out. Where did that go? Shoot. I think that little pin just fell out of here, holding that on. I think that fell into the clutch side, so we might have to open that up. That was barely on there too. But what this does is pull these out of here and opens airflow to the pipe. So right now they're closed, and when you open it, it allows more air to flow through. You can see it open and close here as we move the screwdriver up and down. See? There we go. That's a better picture. So the power valves are moving in and out just fine. So those are nice and smooth. Alright, check this out. There's that little clip. So it didn't drop down into the clutch side after all, which is good. So we're going to leave the clutch together just because there's that gasket there. If we run into any issues, we'll take that apart. But right now it's turning over smoothly. Everything looks good. So we can put the power valve rod back on and get this cover all back together. It looks pretty good. Everything's moving smoothly in here. All these gears are working properly and the power valves are going in and out. So I don't think there's any issue with the power valves at all. Now there's actually two gaskets on the water pump cover here. So there's a metal gasket here, a paper one on the outside, and a paper one on the inside. So we have to take the paper one off here And then just for a temporary fix, we're going to put some gasket maker, just so that coolant doesn't leak everywhere. But yeah, this gasket's ripped and needs to be replaced. Now we won't know if the seals are good in here until we fire this bike up. On here, you can see there's a little hole there. It will start weeping coolant out of that hole if your main water pump seal is about to go. Just gonna hit this with a little brake cleaner, get up all that grime. Just so that our gasket maker can seal. Same with the other side of the cover. Just a very thin amount. Get this back installed. And that bolted back down. All right, this was missing the drain plug here. Little bolt with a crush washer on there. It's gonna go right in here. Now that shouldn't leak anymore. There we go. I'm looking through the parts bin. I found a cap. See if she fits. Oh yeah. Perfect. Well, so far we're getting pretty lucky. We've got spark, really good compression, power valves are all intact and working, and the impeller down here, the water pump impeller, is spinning just fine. So now, all that's left really is fuel. Is this thing getting fuel, and is this thing jetted correctly? So I'm not sure if this thing has a big bore, I'm not sure if it has a high compression piston, I'm not sure if the head was shaved, we really don't know anything about it. So we're probably gonna keep the jets that are in there, because at one point it was probably running like that, right? I would think. But we're gonna take the carb out, look at that, clean that out, and see what's going on with the carb. All right, let's work on getting this carb out. May as well check the reeds while we're in here too, since we checked everything else. I figured there'd have to be a problem with this bike, unless the guy was going to restore it and then just never got around to putting it back together. So far everything's looking pretty good. Could be bad crank seals too, you never know. Alright, it's pretty loose. So with this one we should probably, I don't know if you have to or not, lift up the subframe. I don't think you do. Depends on how soft this boot is. Oh yeah, that's not too bad. Let's see if this boot will come off. Get all these hoses out. As long as it pulls out of this boot here, should be good. Yeah, there we go. All right, slide is in the correct way. Going all the way back down, that's good. Choke, working. Let's get the slide out. Like to check the needle, sure that doesn't push back in. That feels good. Yeah, carb looks brand new. Looks really nice. Let's zip those out. Let's see. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen a carb this spotless after sitting 15 years. Holy cow. It's perfect. So he definitely cleaned this out before selling it to me, or he left it like this 15 years ago. That makes my job a lot easier. Wow, is that clean? That bowl is spotless. There's a little bit of like oil residue on there, but wow, that's clean. Yeah, float's working, needle's working. It's looking really good. Let's see if the pin comes out. That's a big surprise. I was not expecting that. Pin looks good. Floats look perfect. Yeah, he must have just cleaned this. Looks like a brand new needle. All right, looking at the seat, that looks really good in there. Wow. All right, let's see what we're running for jets. And then we'll compare them to the stock jetting, which it might be. Here's the main. Let's see if that's clear. Yep, that's clear. Running a 168 main jet. And then the pilot. Pilot is a 50. Let's see if it's clear. Yup. After sitting 15 years, the pilot's clear. What are the chances of that? All right. And then there's the air screw here. Simi turns out, that was. Turns out. Let's see. We are 1, almost exactly 2. Oh, there's a spring in there. That looks really good. All right, everything looks perfect there. That looks great. Really clean. That looks perfect as well. So we're just gonna blow through the carb quick and get everything back together. And then I want to compare the jetting to stock jetting and see if it matches up. Because if it is stock, and somebody ran this bike with those jets in it, and most likely the top end is probably stock. Which would be weird because the spark plug has that spacer on it like that, which we might be bypassing. I don't know if I want to keep that on there, but we'll see how it runs. All right, just looked it up. It says that a stock CR125 main would be 172. We're running a 168 main. And it's just a stock pilot would be a 55. We're running a 50. And we have a Pro Circuit pipe on there with an FMF silencer. So we're gonna do the Pro Circuit settings, look that up quick. And we found that the Pro Circuit recommended settings is a 168 main, which we have, and 50 on the Pilot, which we have, and then 1.5 turns out on the air screw, which we were 2 turns out, and then the 3rd clip position on the needle. So we'll have to check the needle clip position. It looks like somebody put the recommended jets in there for the pipe. So that's good. I'm guessing this bike is stock then. So the only thing I found wrong with the carb was the air screw was missing the little washer and O-ring. So now we've got that, we can reinstall it. All right, carb is all back together. That's perfect, good to go. Let's take a look at the needle setting. The recommended was 3 clip positions from the top. All right, let's take a peek. We can get all right, then this pushes down and out. So it's a 6mm. You push down, spin it, comes out like that, and then you can access that needle clip. And that is in the 3rd position. So you count from the top always. So you can see 1, 2, 3 right in the center. So we're gonna leave that. And this works by allowing more fuel to flow in or less fuel. So the lower that clip sits right here raises that needle up and allows more fuel to flow in. The higher that clip sits, the lower this sits into the passageway and cuts off fuel. So if your bike is running lean from 1/4 throttle to 3/4 throttle, you want to lower the clip. If it's running rich, you want to raise the clip. All right, last thing to really check before attempting to fire this thing up are the reeds. So let's take those off. See what these look like. All right, last one. See if we can get in there to get it. Let's see what they look like. We'll check out that boot too, the manifold. Make sure there's no rips in here. Ooh, there's some crud sitting on the bottom of them. That's nice and rubbery yet. No cracks in that at all. That looks really good. We're just gonna clean this up a bit. Got some old gas sitting in it. Oh, these reeds have some old gas too. Just hit on the side of the reeds here, like that. Yeah, good thing we're taking these out. They look a little dirty. Ooh, yeah, look at all that old gas built up in there. Ooh. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, we're gonna clean those up really well. You can see the reeds are open just a hair right there. You can see the light through it. They're not horrible. I think once we clean that up and blow through those with the air compressor, that'll close back up. But those are pretty gunked up from old gas, just sitting there for 15 years. All right, reeds are back on. Those cleaned up pretty good. We blew through those with the air compressor. Let's get the carburetor back on. So this carb wasn't too bad to take off. Definitely easier than some. The little cutout notch part facing towards the air filter side of the carb. And make sure our slide goes up and down. Looks good. All right, we can tuck all these hoses in here. One more here. Carb's back on. We're putting the plug back in with the spacer. We'll see what runs with that. Like I said before, if it runs bad, we'll take that off and put the straight plug in. Because we know that the piston's not hitting the plug when the spacer's not on there. Alright, we're going to get the silencer on. I like to get the springs on first before we put the pipe on. So these go on right here. They're kind of tricky to get in. You have the pipe already on. Alright, you can see all the springs are on there. Alright, this is going to take 650 milliliters of oil. Let's see if I can get the cap off now that the pipe is on. Yep. Alright, let's get our funnel in. Alright, 650 milliliters going, and we're adding 4-stroke 10W40 wet clutch oil. What are we at here? I think we've got 500 here, and we'll add another 150. And another 150 milliliters. All right, the bike is level. Let's take out the check bolt, see if there's enough oil. All right, let's see, it should just pour out of here. Yep. You guys can see that oil dripping. Plenty of oil in there. Well, let's see if the radiator holds coolant. We're hoping that our gasket maker fix down by the water pump holds. It's been about an hour, so see. All right, wait for a second, see if anything leaks. So far, so good. See if anything's leaking yet. Nothing yet. All right. Oh, something's leaking out here. Oh, I see overflow. Okay. So that's topped off. Looking good so far. It's not leaking anything. Just out of the hose here. It's because it overfilled, but nothing leaking out of here. All right, last piece of the puzzle is the gas line. We're just gonna quick clean that out. This came with the bike. That on. Let's see, I think it goes behind here. I want to see how it sits. It might go the other way. And then we can get the seat on. Looking pretty good. That is looking pretty sharp. I actually really like the look of that. So that turned out pretty good. All right, we mixed up some 40-to-1. We're using Klotz oil because it smells the best. Add that. It looks like it's leaking out of the petcock a little bit, unfortunately. All right, all the gas is drained out, or most of it. Let's see if we can get this off. We're just gonna leak all over the place still, but at least most of the gas is drained out. Ooh, that is rough in there. I don't think there's any gasket on there at all. There's just a little O-ring here. So the O-ring there must be bad. Yeah, that's shot. That O-ring is really bad. Yeah, it's broken right there. So that's why it was leaking. A bunch of sand on the filter here. We're going to try to find the exact size O-ring and then replace that. Alright, new O-ring going on. So that'll sit up right in there. And that should fix our problem here, hopefully. Alright, we've got gas in it so far, no leaking at all. So I think we fixed that. Let's see if it's coming out of the petcock. Alright, let's see if it's working. Oh yeah. Good fuel flow. Awesome. Looking good. Take this off, blow through it. Yep, venting properly. Alright, coolant is holding, gas is holding. Let's see if the carb leaks when we turn the gas on. Let's see what happens here. All right, gas on. I'm guessing it's probably gonna leak. It shouldn't, but we'll find out right now. Anything leaking out of there? So far, so good. All right, I think we're safe. Let's see if it shifts through all the gears. I'm hoping the transmission's fine. It is kind of weird that you had it taken all apart. I hope that's not the case. We'll see. Brakes are a little sticky. There's first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Feels good. Back to neutral. All right, that's working. Well, it's finally time for the first start. We have fresh fuel in it, 40 to 1. Petcock's not leaking anymore. The carb is cleaned out. We have good spark, and we have great compression. So there's no reason this thing shouldn't fire up. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about is a little spacer between the spark plug there. So we might be taking that out if it doesn't fire up, but we'll see. This will be the first start attempt in over 15 years. Let's see what happens. All right, here we go. Let's see what happens. Choke it. Gas on. Well, she fired right up. Let's try to get this thing to idle. Alright, it's idling now. Just had to adjust the throttle with the choke lever. No knocking in the top end or bottom end. Not smoking excessively. Revs out completely. Really, really snappy. Yeah, sounds really good. No leaking. So maybe it did need that spacer on the spark plug. Can you guys smell that? Clots. Smells really good. Yeah, I'd say she's good to go. Well, first start in 15 years, I'd say it sounds pretty good. No knocking from the top end, bottom end. Everything sounds really smooth. Seems like the power valves are opening up. Everything seems really, really good. We won't really know until we take it for the first ride if it bogs, if it's jetted correctly or anything like that. So let's try to pump up these tires and we'll see if we can attempt to take it for the first ride. I have no idea if the clutch works or if the transmission's good, so fingers crossed everything checks out. See if she pumps up at all. Well, that's not good. I can hear air escaping the tire. So right now it's holding for a little bit. I think it'll hold for a good couple rides. But yeah, she's leaking pretty good. So definitely needs a new rear tire and tube. Let's see about the front tire. Let's see if this one's flat. No, that one's good. So front tire is actually good. So don't have to worry about that. This thing has to be a big board or have a high compression piston. It's like riding a 250. It has a ton of power. And it's instant power. It's right there. So it is jetted perfectly. You guys can hear it in the GoPro footage and the flybys. I mean, it is crispy. It is very, very peppy for a 125. I think this has to be the peppiest 125 I've ever ridden. I mean, it is torquey and fast. So I am really, really impressed with it. However, it is spitting out some black sludge out of the pipe, which typically means it's running a little bit rich. You can see some of it pooling there. So I don't know if that plug being shimmed like that is causing that, which it could be, or what. But yeah, it's running perfectly, so I don't want to mess with it. It might just be the extra oil I put in there from before coming out. I don't know. But we'll run it a little bit more, see if that goes away. But yeah, I really like this bike. This thing is quick. But yeah, that wraps up today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed picking up this 1999 on the CR125 for 500 bucks. Piecing it back together, getting it to run, and then taking it for the first ride. This one's a great runner. I am really happy with the way this one turned out. I was gonna check the temp sensor too on here. You put one on the head. I don't think that's working. And then you put one on the radiator too. I don't think that's working either. Doesn't appear to be working. But anyway, yeah, it's running great. No issues at all. I'm really happy with it. The one thing I did see also is our seal here. It was leaking a little bit of coolant out of there, so we'll have to get a new gasket for that. But that's really the only part we have to order up for it. So this one's all finished up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video. And until next time, we are out.